The Galactic Council's observation post hung silently in the void, its crystalline structures refracting starlight across its surface. Inside, High Observer Zextal of the Meridian Collective watched Earth through advanced sensors that could pierce through the planet's atmosphere down to street level. His iridescent scales shifted from deep blue to purple, a sign of profound irritation. "Another breakthrough," he muttered, his three-fingered hand gesturing at the holographic display. "Third one this month." His assistant, Valna, floated closer on her anti-gravity disk, her luminescent tendrils pulsing with curiosity. "The humans have improved their quantum computing efficiency by another 15%. Quite remarkable for such a young species." "Remarkable." Zextal's scales flashed red. "Try dangerous. They're advancing too quickly. The Council's models predicted it would take them at least another century to reach this level." The humans below remained blissfully unaware of the alien observers who had been watching their civilization for the past 50 years. The Galactic Council, an alliance of the 12 most advanced species in the known universe, had strict protocols for monitoring emerging civilizations. Earth had been classified as a Category 3 developing world, interesting enough to study, but not yet worthy of contact. But something had changed in the past decade. Human technological progress had accelerated at an unprecedented rate. Their understanding of quantum mechanics, artificial intelligence, and energy manipulation was evolving so rapidly that it defied the Council's predictive models. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in her laboratory at the International Quantum Research Center in Geneva, reviewing the latest test results. She had no idea that her work was causing such consternation among the alien observers above. Her team had just achieved another breakthrough in quantum entanglement, one that would revolutionize computing and communications. "Dr. Chen," her assistant called out, "the Chinese team just confirmed our results. They were able to replicate the experiment perfectly." Sarah smiled, but there was a shadow in her eyes. She had dedicated her life to advancing human knowledge, but lately something felt off. The speed of their breakthroughs, the way solutions seemed to fall into place just a little too easily. It was almost as if they were being guided. Back on the observation post, Zextal made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Send a message to the Council. Tell them we need to discuss implementing Protocol Omega." Valna's tendrils went rigid with shock. "Protocol Omega? But that's only for—" She trailed off, understanding the implications. "For species that pose a potential threat to galactic stability," Zextal finished. "Yes, the humans are advancing too rapidly. They're not following the normal technological progression path. They're taking shortcuts, making intuitive leaps that should be impossible. But implementing Protocol Omega would mean the complete suppression of their technological progress. Yes, better that than letting them develop unchecked." What neither of them knew was that in a secure facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, humans had made a discovery that would render their concerns moot. Dr. James Rodriguez, head of the Anomaly Research Division, stood before a shimmering field of energy that defied the known laws of physics. "It's not just a shield," he explained to the assembled military officials. "It's a window into how the universe really works." The energy field pulsed with a soft blue light, bending reality around it in ways that made the observer's eyes hurt. The human scientists had stumbled upon something that the Galactic Council had carefully hidden from emerging civilizations for millennia: the true nature of space-time manipulation. What made it worse was that they had discovered it entirely on their own, through a path that no other species had ever taken. As Zextal prepared his report to the Council, Sarah Chen was making a connection that would shatter the carefully maintained galactic order. Looking at her quantum entanglement data, she noticed a pattern, a signature in the quantum noise that couldn't be natural. Someone or something had been observing their experiments, leaving the faintest of traces in the quantum field. "Run it again," she told her team. "But this time, let's watch who's watching us." The pieces were falling into place, though not in the way the Galactic Council had planned. Humanity wasn't just advancing. They were about to discover they weren't alone in the universe, and they were going to do it on their own terms. Zextel's report never reached the Council. Before he could transmit it, alarms blared throughout the observation post. Val now rushed to the sensor controls, her tendrils writhing in distress. "Impossible," she whispered. "They're looking back at us." The humans had not only detected the observation post's quantum sensors, they had found a way to trace them back to their source. In that moment, the balance of power began to shift, though the Council didn't realize it yet. Humanity's silent observation was over. The Watchers were about to become the watched. Dr. Chen stared at her computer screen, a mix of triumph and trepidation on her face. "Got you," she whispered, as the coordinates of the alien observation post appeared in glowing numbers. The game of cat and mouse was about to end, but no one knew who was really the cat and who was the mouse. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the galaxy, and humanity was not going to play by the Council's rules. The news of humanity's discovery spread through the Galactic Council like a shockwave. The emergency session chamber, a vast amphitheater carved from living crystal, erupted in chaos as representatives from the 12 elder races argued over how to handle the situation. First Speaker Ixel of the Meridian Collective, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation, raised his voice above the din. "We must act immediately. The humans have detected our presence far earlier than any species in galactic history." The Archon of the Cytherians, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate metallic shell, moved forward. "Perhaps this is an opportunity. They've shown remarkable adaptability. Instead of suppression, we could." No. The interruption came from Dexlor of the Chronith Empire, his massive, armored form towering over the others. "We all remember what happened with the Nexuri. Their advancement was too rapid, and they nearly destroyed an entire sector before we could contain them." Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen was presenting her findings to a closed session of the United Nations Security Council. The room was silent as she displayed the evidence of alien observation. "They'd been watching us for decades," she explained, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "And based on the quantum signatures we've detected, they're far more advanced than us. But they're also afraid." "Afraid?" The Chinese representative leaned forward. "Afraid of what?" "Of how quickly we're advancing." Dr. Rodriguez cut in, joining her at the podium. "We've been analyzing the patterns of their observation. Every major breakthrough we've made has triggered increased monitoring activity. They're not just studying us. They're assessing whether we're a threat." In orbit above Earth, Zextel was facing his own crisis. His observation post had been compromised, but the Council was too busy arguing to send evacuation orders. He watched as human satellites subtly adjusted their orbits, moving into positions that couldn't be coincidental. "They're mapping our cloaking field," Valna reported, her tendrils writhing with anxiety. "Every time we adjust our position, they track the gravitational distortion. We've trained them too well." The Council's debate reached its climax when the Syntherian Archon made an unprecedented proposal. "We should reveal ourselves. Establish diplomatic contact. Guide them properly into the galactic community." The chamber fell silent. In 10,000 years of Council history, no species had ever been admitted without going through the full advancement cycle. But before the discussion could continue, alarms blared throughout the chamber. On Earth, Sarah Chen and her team had made another breakthrough. The quantum field they detected wasn't just for observation. It was part of a vast network, a galactic communication system that had been humming around them, undetected, for millennia. And they had just learned how to listen in. The Council's worst fears were realized when their private deliberations began appearing, translated and decoded on human computer screens. The Chronith Empire's representative was mid-speech when he realized humans were hearing every word. "Must be contained before they become too powerful. Implementation of Protocol Omega will require the temporary disruption of their technological infrastructure." Dr. Rodriguez watched the translations with growing anger. "They're not planning to welcome us," he told the emergency session of world leaders. "They're planning to cripple us, force us back to a pre-industrial state. The Council's debate became moot when humanity decided to act first. Sarah Chin's team had spent months preparing for this moment, developing countermeasures that the Council never expected a primitive species to conceive. High above Earth, Zextal's observation post suddenly lost power. As emergency systems kicked in, he realized with horror that the humans hadn't just detected them. They had learned to manipulate the very quantum fields that powered their technology. "Impossible," he whispered, watching as his systems failed one by one. They couldn't have advanced this far. But they had. In laboratories and research centers around the world, humans had been quietly reverse engineering alien technology from the quantum traces left by their observers. Every scan, every observation had given humanity another piece of the puzzle. The Council's response was swift and harsh. Ships emerged from hyperspace, their weapons charged, ready to implement Protocol Omega by force. But as they moved to surround Earth, they discovered that humanity had one final surprise waiting. The quantum field surrounding Earth wasn't just for communication or observation anymore. It had been transformed into something the Council had never seen before, a defense system that operated on principles they couldn't understand. As the Council ships opened fire, their energy weapons dissipated harmlessly against the quantum shield. Humanity had not only learned to see the quantum field, they had learned to reshape it. The breaking point had been reached, but not in the way the Council expected. Humanity wasn't breaking under their pressure. Instead, the careful order of the galaxy was about to shatter against humanity's unexpected resilience. Dr. Chen stood in her lab, watching the alien ships through their own quantum monitoring system. "They thought they were being careful," she said to no one in particular. "They never realized that every time they watched us, we were learning from them." The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the galaxy's power structure forever. Humanity had been pushed to its breaking point, but instead of breaking, they had transformed the pressure into something new, something that would change everything. The Council's warships hung in Earth's orbit like gathering storm clouds, their weapons powerless against humanity's quantum shield. Inside the Galactic Council's emergency chamber, panic was setting in. First Speaker Ixal's crystalline form had dulled to a pale gray, a sign of deep distress. How? The question echoed through the chamber. How did they develop quantum field manipulation without us detecting it? Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the United Nations Security Council, explaining humanity's next move. The room was tense, filled with military leaders and heads of state from every major nation. "We've learned more than just defense," she explained, bringing up a holographic display of the quantum network that spanned the galaxy. Every time they scanned us, their sensors left traces in the quantum field. We've mapped their entire communication system, their power distribution network, even their FTL travel routes. Admiral Helena Torres, newly appointed commander of Earth's Unified Defense Force, stepped forward. "We have an opportunity here. They think we're trapped behind our shield, but they don't understand what we've actually built." In orbit, aboard the Council's flagship, Supreme Commander Vexthor of the Cronoth Empire was preparing for a prolonged siege. "Their shield cannot last forever," he declared to his assembled officers. "No species at their level of development could maintain such an energy output for long." He was wrong. The response began not with a bang, but with a whisper. Throughout the galaxy, quantum communication nodes began to flicker. At first, the Council thought it was a minor technical malfunction. Then entire sectors went dark. Dr. Rodriguez's team had spent months preparing this operation. "The quantum field isn't just a communications medium," he explained to the military command. "It's the foundation of their entire civilization, and we've learned to rewrite its rules." The Council fleet received their first warning when their quantum drives began to fluctuate. The humans weren't just defending. They were reaching out through the quantum field itself, touching systems light years away. "Impossible," Vexthor roared as his flagship systems began to fail. "They can't have this level of control." But they did. In her lab, Dr. Chen watched as their quantum manipulators reached across space, touching the very systems that the Council had used to monitor Earth for so long. Every observation post, every monitoring station, had become a potential access point. The Council's response fleet found itself trapped, their quantum drives inoperable. The humans had turned their own technology against them, using their understanding of quantum fields to isolate and contain the threat. Admiral Torres addressed the UN Security Council. "We don't need to destroy them. We just need to show them we can't be controlled." The quantum field around Earth pulsed, and suddenly the Council ships found themselves encased in their own private quantum bubbles, unable to communicate or maneuver. In the Council chamber, the Syntherian Archon's energy form flickered with revelation. They didn't just copy our technology. They found a completely different way to manipulate quantum fields. We've been using brute force, while we learned to speak to it. Dr. Chen finished, though she was light years away. Her team had discovered that quantum fields weren't just tools to be used. They were part of the universe's fundamental language, and humanity had learned to speak it fluently. The Council's mighty warships, now powerless, could only watch as smaller human vessels emerged from Earth's atmosphere. These ships weren't built with the angular, aggressive designs favored by the Council races. Instead, they were smooth, almost organic in appearance, their hulls rippling with quantum energy. "We're not here to fight." Admiral Torres broadcast on all frequencies, her message translated perfectly into every Council language. "We're here to talk. But this time, we'll talk as equals." The human ships demonstrated their control by carefully repositioning the Council vessels, arranging them in a perfect circle around Earth. It was both a show of power and an invitation to dialogue, a message that humanity could not be dominated, but was willing to cooperate. Dr. Rodriguez monitored the quantum field fluctuations as the demonstration continued. "They're starting to understand," he noted, watching the energy patterns shift. "Their fear is turning to curiosity." In the Council chamber, the debate had shifted. The Archon's proposal for diplomatic contact no longer seemed radical. It seemed necessary. Humanity had proven themselves not just capable, but innovative in ways the Council had never imagined. First speaker Ixel, his color returning to a more natural blue, made an unprecedented decision. "We will meet with them. Not as observers, not as superiors, but as equals. They have earned that right." The response had achieved its goal. Humanity had demonstrated not just their technological capability, but their approach to power. They had the ability to cripple the Council's fleet, to disrupt their entire civilization, but instead chose to show restraint. Dr. Chen watched as the quantum field stabilized, the pattern of energy flowing between Earth and the Council ships changing from confrontational to collaborative. "This is just the beginning," she said, smiling as new possibilities unfolded before them. "We have so much to learn from each other." The galaxy was changing, and humanity's response had ensured they would be part of that change, not as subjects, but as partners in shaping the future. Ripples of change. Less than function underscore calls greater than less than invoke name equals artifacts greater than less than parameter name equals id greater than phi story part 4 less than slash parameter greater than less than parameter name equals type greater than text slash markdown less than slash parameter greater than less than parameter name equals title greater than ripples of change less than slash parameter greater than less than parameter name equals comment greater than create less than slash parameter greater than less than parameter name equals content greater than news of humanity's unprecedented display of power rippled through the galaxy like waves in a cosmic pond. On countless worlds, species that had long lived under the Council's rigid hierarchy began to stir. The Galactic Library on Centauri Prime, a neutral space where information flowed freely, buzzed with activity as representatives from dozens of races sought information about the humans. Kiraval, a historian from the Nexari, a species that had once faced the Council's suppression, accessed Earth's newly shared quantum database with trembling appendages. They did what we couldn't, she whispered to her research partner. They found a way to grow without breaking. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen and her team were processing the flood of information now flowing freely through the quantum network. The Council's previously restricted databases had been opened to them, revealing millennia of accumulated knowledge. It's not just about technology, she explained to Admiral Torres during a briefing. The quantum field connects everything. Cultures, histories, dreams. We're not just reading their data, we're understanding their stories. In the council chamber, the political landscape was shifting dramatically. The Kronith Empire's influence had waned after their failed show of force, while the Syntherian Archon's early advocacy for diplomatic contact had elevated their standing. First Speaker Ixal addressed the chamber, his crystalline form now shimmering with multiple colors, a sign of complex emotions. The humans have shown us something we have forgotten. Progress doesn't have to follow a single path. Innovation doesn't have to be controlled. It's not just about technology, she explained to Admiral Torres during a briefing. The quantum field connects everything. Cultures, histories, dreams. We're not just reading their data, we're understanding their stories. In the council chamber, the political landscape was shifting dramatically. The Kronith Empire's influence had waned after their failed show of force, while the Syntherian Archon's early advocacy for diplomatic contact had elevated their standing. First Speaker Ixal addressed the chamber, his crystalline form now shimmering with multiple colors, a sign of complex emotions. The humans have shown us something we have forgotten. Progress doesn't have to follow a single path. Innovation doesn't have to be controlled. On the edges of council space, smaller civilizations began reaching out to Earth directly. The Valari, masters of biotechnology, but historically restricted by council regulations, were the first to propose an alliance. Dr. Rodriguez found himself hosting a delegation of Valari scientists in his quantum research facility. Their organic technology, combined with humanity's understanding of quantum fields, promised breakthroughs that neither species could achieve alone. Your approach to quantum manipulation, the Valari chief scientist observed, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with excitement. It's like nothing we've seen before. You treat it as a living thing, a language to be spoken, not a force to be controlled. The council's younger members began to break ranks. The Meridian Collective, led by a reform-minded faction, publicly denounced Protocol Omega and called for a complete restructuring of galactic governance. Admiral Torres received a steady stream of diplomatic requests. Species that had been deemed too primitive for contact by the Council now sought Earth's protection and guidance. But humanity, remembering their own journey, chose a different path. We're not here to replace the Council, she announced during a multi-species conference. We're here to change how the galaxy thinks about growth and development. Every species has something unique to offer. Dr. Chen's team made another breakthrough while studying the combined knowledge of multiple civilizations. The quantum field wasn't just a network, it was a living archive of every species' journey to the stars. Each civilization had left its mark, its story written in the very fabric of space-time. The Council tried to make everyone follow the same path, she explained to a gathering of scientists from 20 different species. But look at these patterns. Every successful leap forward in galactic history came from somewhere unexpected, from species finding their own way. The Syntherian Archon, visiting Earth for the first time, stood in Dr. Chen's laboratory, its energy form pulsing with understanding. We thought we were protecting the galaxy by controlling advancement. Instead, we were stifling its natural evolution. On distant worlds, ancient prophecies were being re-examined. The Kethara, a species of natural philosophers who had long predicted a great change in the galaxy's order, watched Earth with growing excitement. Their seers had spoken of a race that would speak to the void itself and rewrite the songs of stars. Back in the council chamber, the debate had shifted from how to contain humanity to how to adapt to the changes they had sparked. The rigid hierarchy that had governed galactic civilization for millennia was crumbling, replaced by something more organic, more diverse. First speaker Ixel, addressing an emergency session, summed up the transformation. We face a choice. We can cling to our old ways and watch as the galaxy passes us by, or we can embrace this new era of collaboration and discovery. Dr. Rodriguez, working late in his lab, monitored the quantum field's shifting patterns. The galaxy was awakening. Species that had been silent for centuries were finding their voices, and new connections were forming every day. We didn't just change the balance of power, he told his team. We changed how power itself works in this galaxy. The ripples continued to spread, touching distant worlds and ancient civilizations. Humanity had not just earned its place among the stars. They had shown that there was room for everyone to shine in their own unique way. Less than slash parameter greater than less than slash invoke greater than. The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly, newly constructed in neutral space between Earth and the Council's traditional seat of power, hummed with energy. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered for what would become known as the Dawn Concordat, a fundamental reshaping of galactic civilization. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her presence a testament to how far humanity had come. Behind her, a massive window revealed Earth and the Council homeworlds aligned in a symbolic array, connected by shimmering quantum fields visible to the naked eye. We gather here not to replace one power structure with another, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber, but to build something new together. The quantum field that connects us all has shown us a truth. The galaxy thrives on diversity, not uniformity. The Syntherian Archon moved forward, its energy form now intertwined with streams of quantum data. For millennia, we thought advancement had to follow a single path. The humans showed us that every species must find their own way to the stars. Admiral Torres, now Earth's primary diplomatic representative, watched as former enemies and newfound allies mingled freely. The Kronef, once the staunchest advocates of suppression, had undergone their own transformation. Their new leader, a reformist named Kexthor, approached the human delegation. We feared what we didn't understand, he admitted, his massive frame bowing slightly. You taught us that strength comes in many forms. Dr. Rodriguez, working with a mixed team of scientists from dozen species, had made another breakthrough. The quantum field wasn't just a network or a tool, it was evolving. As more species added their unique perspectives and technologies, it grew more complex, more alive. Look at these patterns, he explained to the assembled scientists. Every species that joins the network adds something unique. The field isn't just carrying our messages anymore. It's learning, growing, becoming something greater than the sum of its parts. The Veilari's organic technology had merged seamlessly with human quantum manipulation, creating new possibilities for exploration and communication. The Nexari's mathematical insights, combined with Earth's innovative approach, had opened up entirely new areas of scientific discovery. First speaker Ixel, his crystalline form now permanently displaying a rainbow of colors, addressed the assembly. The old council sought to control evolution. The new Galactic Assembly will nurture it. Every species, no matter how young or different, has the right to find their own path to the stars. The Dawn Concordat was more than just a political agreement. It was a new understanding of how civilizations could grow together. The rigid hierarchy of the past was replaced by a fluid network of cooperation and mutual support. Dr. Chen unveiled the cornerstone of this new era, the Universal Archive. Built into the quantum field itself, it would preserve the knowledge and experiences of every species, accessible to all but protected from misuse by the very nature of quantum mechanics. We're not just sharing technology, she explained. We're sharing dreams, hopes, the very essence of what makes each of us unique. The quantum field doesn't just connect our devices, it connects our stories. As the assembly watched, the quantum field above them shifted, forming a vast, living tapestry of light. Each thread represented a different species' journey to the stars, weaving together into a pattern of infinite complexity and beauty. The younger races, once held back by council restrictions, found themselves mentored by both humans and elder species. But this time, the guidance came with encouragement to innovate, to find new solutions, to add their own unique threads to the galactic tapestry. Admiral Torres signed the final protocol, her signature joining thousands of others in the quantum registry. "This isn't an ending," she said to the assembled representatives. "It's a beginning. We've learned that true strength lies not in controlling power, but in sharing it." Dr. Rodriguez, monitoring the quantum field's evolution, noticed something extraordinary. The patterns were changing, becoming more complex, more beautiful. Species that had never been able to communicate before were finding common ground, sharing insights that transcended traditional boundaries. The day ended not with speeches but with a moment of shared consciousness as every being in the assembly touched the quantum field together. In that moment, they saw the galaxy not as a hierarchy to be climbed, but as a garden to be tended, where every species could grow in its own way. Earth, once seen as a primitive world to be contained, had become a symbol of hope, not because humans had proven themselves stronger or smarter, but because they had shown the galaxy a new way forward. As the assembly concluded, Dr. Chen stood with colleagues from a dozen worlds, watching the quantum field pulse with new life. "We didn't just change how the galaxy works," she said softly. "We changed how it dreams." The new dawn had arrived, not with the bang of conquest or the whisper of submission, but with the shared laughter of species learning to grow together. The day humanity snapped had become the day the galaxy learned to bend, to adapt, to evolve into something greater than anyone had imagined possible.